local media has an agenda that they're going to serve. I don't know who's in charge of it or what it is, if it's like a headless monster.
You know, I was pretty happy with that one at Gerbils the other night.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, that was a good pizza.
Yeah.
Fat wallets and empty hearts. Which,
empty hearts.
It's insane how little musicians get. So, if you're interested in supporting not just me, but any musician that you like, one of the best ways to do that, it sounds old school because it is purchase their music, purchase their merch, you know.
Hey guys, this is Mark from Rat Rod.
Hi, this is Mikey P from Skell.
Hey, this is Jeff from the Bell Jumpers.
Let's go.
Probably be Paul, because he's awesome.
This is Jessica for the band Dimitus. You're listening to Pennsylvania Rock Show.
what's up, everyone? You are tuned in to episode number 774. This one is not live, though, so if you're watching us on social media, I'm probably not answering you. My guest might, but I won't. I will be out of town. You are tuned in on musicfrom412.com, buildthescene.com, rootaroo.radio.com, xrpradio.co.uk, megarockradio.net. Maybe you're listening on 107.1 KFGD, St. Louis, Missouri. And I feel like I forgot somebody like I normally do. Hopefully it's not the same one every show. With that, however, I am going to move on to tonight's guest, who has a lot of cool things to talk about with us. That is John Ballistic. What's up, John?
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
I'm doing well. So, anyone who's not familiar with John runs the Underground Jukebox on Music from the 412 from Colorado. Are you right outside Denver?
Right outside Denver, about 10 minutes. 10 minutes from the city limits, maybe 15, 20 from downtown.
But you grew up where?
In Pittsburgh, in Millville.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you played in a few bands in the Pittsburgh scene.
Not anything credible, garage bands. But I met a lot of people that actually turned out to be kind of useful when the Underground Jukebox started.
Well, let's talk about that.
I'm a closet musician.
Let's talk about that. How did the Underground Jukebox come about?
Let's see. About a year before that, I was in a Facebook music group, and the lady that runs the group, Laura Guerra, was basically, they had a radio show that they did, like a YouTube thing on the weekends, and she was looking to do, they had a guy that was doing like interviews of like, group members that were in bands and such like that. And somehow myself and this guy from Malaysia, Darman DeFlern, basically alternated weeks. I think I did about 4 or 5 episodes for him. So we'd do like an hour and a half, 2-hour program, kind of like what you and I are doing now. Holly and Brian from Age of Fiction was one of them. Elephant Back, I interviewed Darman DeFlern, and Bill Muntz from Modern Fossils about his solo album at the time. Yeah, so I did 4. And then fast forward a few months later, basically that got canceled. Just didn't catch on, I guess. And Bill from Modern Fossils got a hold of me. And this was when you guys had just kicked off Music from the 412. And he said you guys were looking for programming, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe I should get a hold of Rocky. And that's kind of how it started. I got a hold of Rocky. Didn't really know what I was going to do. I was kind of pitching kind of something similar to what I was doing for the Facebook group that I talked about. And it turned into the Underground Jukebox. I kind of made it up on the spot as he and I were talking. He told me to put together a few episodes and send it into you guys, and here we are.
So, like the normal bad host of the show that I am, I forgot to mention the songs that we listened to at the top of the show. And I have a feeling that you're going to recognize them. We have Grimrock.
I hope so.
Grimrock Haunted.
Oh, yeah.
And Age of Fiction, The Want Monster. So
Fantastic.
you're gonna
Both
feel.
good friends of mine. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say both good friends of mine. Obviously, you listen to the show. They both do things for me on the show. Holly and Brian, mostly bumpers, etc. You know Holly's reviews that she does every week on Fridays, and Grimrock does those cool graphics with Blue and everybody else standing next to the jukebox and or stomping on the city of Pittsburgh.
So about a month and a half ago, you hit your 100 episode mark. When you started this, was that something you were expecting?
You know what? I think I sent Rocky 4 or 5 episodes at the beginning. I really didn't know if it was going to catch on, and I honestly didn't know how much further than that it would go. I was willing to, stick with it, but like I said, the Facebook thing I was doing lasted maybe 2 months. Like I said, I was alternating with another guy every week, so I had no idea where this was going to go. The 412 was pretty new at the time. I believe you guys launched January 2023. I started with you guys in May, so that was, the 412 in general was still a new concept and a new thing. But I'm really happy to make it to 100.
And then just last week would have been your 2-year anniversary, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, beginning of May. Episode 104.
I don't know if you caught the number I threw out there. 774.
Yep. Congrats. It's longevity.
That is, I honestly, the first show ever I didn't know was a show, and had no idea it would get to this point. But
no, that's like I said, that's definitely longevity. I'm not even going to try to do the math in my head, but that's several years. So congrats.
September 14th, 2004 was the first one.
Wow. 20 years.
Yep. My kids
Amazing.
are only 16 and 14. So my show is older than my kids. So you sometimes make the trek back to the burgh and hang out in the music scene. Do you have anything planned, or do you want to talk about a trek you've made recently and some of the bands you've seen?
Let's see. Basically, I have family scattered all up and down Western Pennsylvania, from Pittsburgh all the way up to Erie. I usually try to get back every year or so, and lately, especially because with the show the last couple of years, I usually catch a couple shows when I'm there. But like I was going to say, with the Underground Jukebox, I definitely try to make some shows. So it's pretty cool to, go see family and friends. And a lot of my friends are in bands and in the scene. So 2 birds with 1 stone there. Get to catch some cool music. Get to meet some of the people I play on the show.
Well, let's head into our first break. And what we're going to hear is Modern Fossils, Incredible Edibles. And then we're also going to follow that up with 13 Occult Becomes Zombie. You want to have anything you'd like to say about those 2 bands before we fade into the music?
Everything you played so far are great bands. Underground Jukebox bands, as I like to call them. And I was kind of hoping you'd put that sort of a playlist together for tonight.
All right, we'll be right back. Hey, it's Bill. We're headed into segment number 2 of episode number 774 of the Pennsylvania Rock Show. With me tonight, John Ballistic of the Underground Jukebox. So John, I didn't mention this off the air, but it just, it's hard to ignore your wall behind you. I know that there's some significance to the walls in your studio. Would you like to touch on that?
First of all, you can't see the rest of it, but black and gold, lifelong Steeler fan, lifelong Pittsburgh fan, but definitely the Steelers. I don't really follow too much hockey or baseball. I got a lot of mainstream stuff on the wall. I haven't had a studio of my own per se for years and years, so a lot of this stuff has been in storage forever. And once I got the black and gold up on the wall, started putting some stuff up. Now I got pictures of a lot of the bands I see in Pittsburgh, a lot of the bands I play on the show that send me stuff. I think you're on the wall behind me. I can't really see right now, but that sort of stuff. Just kind of like a little homey creative vibe I got going on here.
Now, do you use that room for anything other than the show, or has it become like the studio?
This has become the studio. This is my daughter's former bedroom. So, yeah, once she left, I found myself with an extra room. And like I said, pulled all the stuff out of the storage. And this is kind of where I play, do the show, watch Steeler games every once in a while. Like I said, you got the black and gold vibe going on in here.
Yeah, my setup stays up, but it's in my living room. So occasionally
when
you'll
I first started young.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say occasionally you'll hear my kids pop in during the show.
I've actually been watching your show or listening to it when that's happened. I was going to say, when I first started the Underground Jukebox, my daughter was still living at home. So my recording gear was in my dining room. I didn't have a dining room table at the time. And I was basically like recording and editing the show either in my bedroom or at the coffee table in the living room.
When I first started,
kids were all late teens, right?
Yeah, my son is 16 and my daughters are 14.
Okay, maybe a few years you'll have your own. You'll have your space.
Well, I mean, 20 years in, I've been in this same section of the living room all 20 years.
Wow.
Although when I first started the show, the bands would come and play live, and they played in the rest of the living room.
I remember you telling me that at one time. That's pretty cool.
But then,
I'm assuming you don't have a condo or an apartment.
I have an apartment.
Do you really?
I do, and we're on the first floor. There's nobody upstairs right now, but for a good portion of it, my landlord lived up there.
Okay, so how did that work with bands coming in and jamming in the living room?
Well, when we first started, I told them they were only allowed to play acoustic, and then
okay,
there was a band that showed up. Why can't I think of their name right now? Wow, Paul Guarini from Blackridge was in the band. Oh, it was Ill Fated, and he did not tell the band that it was acoustic only, and they showed up with electric and a drum kit, and my wife was not happy, and it worked, and then we were doing live electric after that.
That's pretty cool.
My neighbors, I went to my next door neighbor's house and told him that I'm like, hey, there's gonna be a live band in my living room tonight. If it's too loud, let me know. And he looked at me and he goes, Bill, blow your effing windows out. I don't care.
There you go.
And
my neighbors are pretty cool. I have a condo. They deal with it.
And my landlord has been on the show, so.
Oh, really?
It was a long time ago. He sang songs that I wrote the lyrics for.
Oh, really cool. I didn't know
you won't hear those. Anyway, let's see. What are we doing time-wise? Okay. So you move into that room, and now you have a full studio. Do you have any plans on things changing here in the coming future of the show?
Maybe minor things. I'm kind of one of those, if it's not broke, don't fix it. The show seems to be, hasn't really blown up, but I think it got a nice little cult following that kind of grows as the weeks and months go by. And that's kind of how I like it. Like I said, little tweaks here and there. I'm not sure off the top of my head what those are. But also the focus of the show is the bands, not myself. So I figure, honestly, as long as I keep playing good music and I keep getting good bands, good submissions, this thing can just keep going as long as it wants to.
Now, I don't think people realize how much time goes into making a show. When you make one show, which is an hour, how much time does it take you to actually finish that?
The safe answer is probably about 5 hours. If you're talking gathering the bands, making a playlist, recording it, the editing, etc. Like I said, 5 hours is probably a good estimate, but it can go beyond that. You know that. You have your own show. All week I'm talking back and forth with bands. I'm talking to, people about the show. I'm doing promo for the show. It's almost never ending.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about the interview being live, and it always has been that way, is I leave it raw, so I don't have to do a ton of editing, just some leveling, maybe beeping out a couple words.
Mine's it's pretty cut and dry. It's mostly just balancing the bands so that they all come out around the same volume. I do mine pre-recorded, obviously. I think there's pros and cons to both. Even with me editing out my goof ups and all that, it's still pretty raw. There's still a lot of goof ups. Sometimes I just give up. But the editing process goes pretty quick. It's mostly just, the metadata, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said, just kind of balancing out the bands, make sure everything, so one band's not blowing your speakers off the wall and the other one you can barely hear.
Mm-hmm. I use a program called MP3 Gain. And it sets all of the files to relatively the same decibel. About 89. So anything that you get from me will be at that 89 decibels. So how about let's take our second break, and we're gonna hear from two more bands that have been on your show. We're gonna hear Post Traumatic. We're gonna hear an older song from them called Flight of the Mothman, and then we're also gonna hear from DB Django with Appalachia Shivers. I can't even talk today, and I know that you're probably gonna want to mention somebody in that second band before we move on.
Probably.
So I'm going to go ahead and let you talk about Jess, and then we'll go listen to it.
What do you want to know? Let's see. People that watch the show and follow the show on the socials have seen Marilyn Monroeville, a.k.a. Jessica, standing next to the jukebox and just doing various other promos for me. That also started as an accident. Once again, I got to bring up Bill from Modern Fossils. I was in town 2023 May, Millville Music Festival, and I had heard of God Hates Unicorns. I was following them on the socials, etc. But Bill and the gang were going down to the festival that night, and they said, hey, you got to check out God Hates Unicorns. And actually, as an aside, they said Bill will be there taking pictures. So that was where I met you the first time, if you remember.
Yep,
and I spoke briefly to Jessica about getting them on the Underground Jukebox. But you know how that is. Everything was a blur. They just got done playing the show. Was it the Dream the Heavy guys
yes.
were there? I don't
Yes,
remember.
they were in the Unicorn Heads.
I didn't get to Okay, and see, I didn't get to meet them. I didn't know them
either
at the time, or I didn't know about them at the time. That came later. So yeah, that's how that whole thing came about. Flash forward till the recent past. I sent Jessica an Underground Jukebox shirt. We kind of kept touch over time, and she did some poses in it, and I sent them to Grimrock, who you've played, and as I mentioned, Grim does a lot of graphics for me. And just kind of as a joke, he put Jessica next to the jukebox with the 412 logo and all that stuff and sent it to me. And he said, you know, you should get Jessica to do this for you. And I said, I can't afford Jessica. I don't think she'd do it, et cetera, et cetera. I passed those on to her and she liked the idea. And that's kind of how it started. At the time, she was kind of a fill-in, but it's become a semi-permanent thing now. So there you go, Miss Marilyn Monroeville, rocking the jukebox.
We will be right back for segment 3. It's Bill. You're tuned into the Pennsylvania Rock Show, episode number 774. You just heard from Post Traumatic and DB Djanko. Hope I'm saying that name right. Maybe John knows. Am I saying it right?
That's how I say it. That's how I say it, DB Djanko. I usually spell it wrong.
I asked him what it meant. I don't remember what the answer was.
No, I was hoping you'd have the answer. I never bothered to ask.
So the theme of the show tonight is the Underground Jukebox, which you can find on Music from the 412. It is musicfrom412.com/underground-jukebox, or you can just go to Music from the 412 and click on radio, and then click on shows, and then click on Underground Jukebox. But I'm going to show you real quick what that looks like. And I didn't tell John we were doing this ahead of time, but there we go. So this is the Music from the 412 website for the page for John's show, the Underground Jukebox. Put the radio player there, but right directly under it, it shows you past episodes, so you can go back and catch up on the 100 episodes that you've missed once you tuned into this and went, oh, this sounds pretty cool. So you're going to go and listen to that in like a week. So that, actually it'll be like 104 at this point, but you have to get caught up. The schedule is also listed over there. For some reason, it does not show in the correct order day-wise. I don't know why. It used to. I can't get it to fix itself. So make sure you look at the day and time. Or just go to Akard Baker Productions or Studio. Studio, right? Studio on Facebook. And he lists all that information for you, including who you're going to hear from. And then afterwards, you get to see Holly's post talking about the show and what happened during it. So, what would you like to talk about now?
I guess the important thing to mention, the new episodes are Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern. We do a live chat. I'm always in there, alongside Holly and her husband, Brian, who are Seattle's Age of Fiction, and various other rock stars, local and from all over the place that drop in and out. So always a good time. It's cool having everybody in there talking about their songs. For some reason, it seems to be the live chat is mostly musicians, usually ones that are being played that night. But we also get musicians that aren't being played that night that just follow the show that drop in. I'd like to get more regular listeners in there. That would be awesome. But I think those guys, I don't know what the deal is. They just seem to kind of linger on the outskirts. But every once in a while, we get just a non-musician in there, just chatting with everybody. So it's a good place to just, it's a good vibe. Holly and Brian, basically, they're they're kind of my community builders. They kind of run the chat. I usually just kind of sit back and answer questions here and there. I just kind of let those guys just interact and do what they do. And of course, as you said, the reviews. Holly and Brian started listening as fans a long time ago. Holly would be able to tell you more, but I think about a month or so into the Underground Jukebox, she started writing these little reviews and putting them up on the socials, mostly on Facebook. And unsolicited, I didn't ask her to do it. She just started to do it. And for some reason, they caught on. People started listening in, or people would message me or her and say, I read the review while I'm listening to the replay if they missed the show on Thursday, or they listen back to the show. So once I realized it was picking up steam, I basically asked Holly if this was something that she would consider continuing to do. And I don't know, I think it's just a cool little after party of sorts to the show, and it's become part of the show. Holly and Brian generally follow everybody that I play on the show. So for them, that gives them some musical networking. And then those guys, within that circle start following each other. And it's kind of cool because a couple shows have popped up because of people meeting either through the chat room or, via Holly's reviews, etc. So, that was kind of the idea of the show when I started it. Just have get some of these guys that don't get all the attention, on the air, and just get them some attention.
So I'm going to bring up the website again here for one moment. That is a terrible screenshot of me. But this is the submissions forms page on Music from 412. And you can submit anything. Video submissions, radio submissions, concert calendar shows. You can submit to my show, Jazz's show, 10-band productions, all kinds of things. And when music comes in through this page, we share it with all of the DJs. So I'm constantly sending links to John and the other DJs saying, here's some new music to check out. But John, if a band wanted to contact you directly, how would you have them do that?
They can get to me at that Facebook page you talked about, Acred Baker Studios. That's ACRED, kind of a weird spelling. Acred Baker Studios, and we're on Instagram at JBS Underground Jukebox. Just hit me up and we'll get you on the show. And as Bill said, submit to the 412 as well. Get yourselves on there, maybe get into regular rotation. Most of the stuff Bill's playing tonight all the stuff Bill's playing tonight has been on the Underground Jukebox. And I know every once in a while, all the DJs at the 412 will find some cool stuff and kind of share it with each other. Like, hey, you guys got to check this band out. So whether it's my show or somebody else's show, if it's good enough and we all kind of like it, I mean, there's a possibility it just ends up all over the channel or the station at some point.
So I'm going to let you go for the evening. Thank you for hanging out with us. And we'll do this again. Well, maybe at the 3-year mark, we'll pull you in again. Maybe before that.
There you go. Fingers crossed. I would love it.
So we're going to end the show with Adjustable Mustard, Pure Love O. John was just telling me that they have a brand new album that I don't know anything about. You wouldn't happen to have some information off the top of your head?
The only information I don't really have much information on Adjustable Mustard. I listen to a lot of stuff. I probably found them on some kind of music page or something and liked what they did. And I will, if I run into something like that as Adjustable Mustard, I'll hit you guys up and ask you if you want to be on the show. And that was one of those cases. And we just, they sent me a few tracks. I started playing them. They sent me their first 2 EPs and I kept playing them and we stay in touch. And like I said, they have a new album out. It should be out definitely be out by the time you're hearing this, because this came out mid-April. So a great band out of Auburn, Alabama, husband-wife duo. They play everything themselves.
And they are a band that I became, that I know of because of you. I don't know. See, even on a good day, sometimes the words don't work.
I think you happened to be listening in one night when I played them. I don't remember what the deal on that was.
And then the last band we're going to hear.
Other show.
The last band we're going to hear from is Bad Neighbors. another song, 12 Bar Blues, which is kind of a funny song. It's not what you think it's about. It's definitely a blues song, but it's not what you think it's about. With that said, we're going to head off into the evening. Make sure you join us each and every Monday night, 9 p.m. for the interviews, 10 p.m. on buildascene.com and xrpradio.co.uk, and musicfrom412.com for the radio show. And then, as always, you can head to buildascene.com and find those shows 24/7, 365. And Roku, Music from the 412's Roku. It's all over the place. Go to musicfrom412.com/apps, and you'll see where all you can listen to the Underground Jukebox, Pennsylvania Rock Show, a ton of local
Doc,
Pennsylvania stuff.
101.
Doc, right? We have a new
Why? I listen to Bonnie with Why.
Did you see that we have a new video show?
Which one?
It is called Backstage Ambush.
Yes. I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen the promos for it.
There is, at the time of recording, there is one show. He's currently trying to schedule some more ambushes. But the idea is he shows up at a show and interviews the band on the spot. And he does do some editing, but it's pretty cool. But,
I like that.
Hey, with that said, we're going to hear Adjustable Mustard and Bad Neighbors, and we're going to call it an evening. Thank you for hanging out with us.